this episode so far seems like we're probably poo-poo Camp Harris.
Which is funny because I would say neither of us necessarily are. You
No.
know, I don't think that is the case. I'm sure, people listening are very surprised.
All right, welcome back. Favorite podcast on the planet, in the world. Realty Talks podcast. It is episode number 15.
It is, yeah. 15. Look at us go.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, probably.
Yeah, we do.
To unpack.
Yeah, I think we should just jump right in. I think today we're going to talk about some things that have been mentioned politically that would really impact the real estate industry. So I think it's important to jump right into that.
Yeah. Any broader updates? How is life as the CEO of a rapidly growing brokerage?
You know, it's been an interesting few weeks, I have to say. We've had some just very unique. There are so many personalities that we work with on a daily basis, so it definitely keeps me on my toes. I will say, yeah. What about you?
Same. A lot of change.
You've had some changes too.
Yeah, nothing, everything's good. Just, the market kind of is what it is. You know, rates coming down a little bit have helped with some of our resale.
Yeah.
We still see a lot of opportunity on the investment side, but I think business is easy and people are hard.
Yeah, definitely.
Like generally.
Yeah, exactly.
So... yeah.
I will say I have felt more buyers in the market. We've moved some inventory that had been kind of stagnant. So I think that the word is out that rates are going down, and even maybe will reduce more next week, depending on how that goes. So that's good news.
What I hear you and I both saying is that market, everything's fine, but managing large scaling businesses are tough.
Few new gray hairs for both of us.
Yes.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
But I think so let's jump in. I think there were some headlines this week.
Yeah.
Vice President Kamala Harris mentioned, the first thing I think we could talk about is $25,000 for down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. Mm-hmm. You have to be on time with your rent payments for the past 2 years. There's always some sort of stipulation there. It kind of initially made me think about the California Dream program that we had in California specifically, but let's talk about it. What are your thoughts?
Where is that money coming from?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I want to be really careful. I'm a complete independent. Yeah. I don't really buy into either side. But when I saw that statement, I was so concerned because, to me, anytime you give somebody something for nothing, they're not going to take care of it. There's no value. They didn't work for it. I could certainly see how that might, speed up homeownership, but we already have an inventory problem. Mm-hmm. And so putting more buyers into a place where they go and buy the limited inventory that exists with money that we don't really have, I don't understand the logic.
Well, you mentioned an inventory problem. I think she also mentioned that there were going to be 3 million new homes. Yeah,
she said if she's elected president, that she's going to build 3 million homes during her 4-year tenure.
She's going to build them?
Swinging hammers.
She's going out. Yeah, she's hitting the streets. Well, so how would that actually solve the inventory problem then? Or
No. My opinion, this is for a disclaimer, this is my opinion. It is probably the worst thing that any political candidate could ever say. I think, just broad picture is that number one, building 3 million houses in a 4-year run is unbelievably complicated.
Right.
I would go back to the example of SpaceX and Boeing. In 2010 or 2012, Boeing was awarded a contract from NASA for $4.6 or $4.8 billion to create the Starliner, which would take astronauts, to space and back. At the same time, SpaceX was awarded a $2.4 or $2.2 billion contract, and for the same thing, essentially. Right. They are both, private companies, or I guess, Boeing's a public company. I guess SpaceX is now too, but but different structures, And so SpaceX today in 2024 has cut costs so far from what the government had been doing previously. I mean, even down to like a spring in Elon's book, he talks about, how it would cost NASA $16,000 for a spring on a door, and he got the cost down to like 5 cents because there's no difference between the aeronautical or aerospace steel,
right?
Than what's being sold or what he can go manufacture. And fast forward to where we are today, I think SpaceX has done 13 manned trips to space and come back. And Boeing, that behemoth that they are, still has not done one, and they had double the funds to do it. Actually, they just completed their first one 2 weeks ago, and the astronauts are going to be stuck at the International Space Station until 2025.
Oh, wow.
Because they had an engine issue.
Oh, no.
They're stuck in space right now.
That doesn't surprise me, though, with Boeing, I have to say.
But I guess my point, and this is a long-winded answer, but it's like anytime our government steps in to try to solve a problem that really should be private enterprise, they overspend like crazy. They are slow moving. There's way too much red tape, and they can't get it done. So if that was actually to happen, number one, where do those houses go?
Right.
Number two, where does that money come from? But if they were to actually try to accomplish that, it would probably be the single worst thing for single family residences in the U.S. That we've ever seen in our lifetime. Ultimately, if I'm right, and maybe I'm wrong, but they would probably drive trade costs up 10x. So all of your national builders would basically stop building because they would, A, not have access to workers. B, once they do get access to those workers, they're going to have a new expectation of compensation. And so I think the number of starts on new development would go down significantly. And then when that music stopped, then those workers would not want to go back to work at market rate.
Right.
But I guess for me, the simplification is you're going to go and build houses and then give people money to buy the houses that can't afford the houses. I don't understand that math problem.
Yeah, to me, it just kind of feels like it wasn't necessarily a vetted comment or proposal, I guess I would say. Because I think, there have been quite a few holes poked in it immediately.
Yeah.
But, I think also, and we've talked about this before, it kind of comes down to things are said all the time from both parties that we're just like, where is this coming from? Who gave you this idea? And yeah, it's terrible. Talk to the people that are actually in the industry or, have, a better understanding, because sometimes it feels like maybe that's not happening.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't do enough reading. I spent a little bit of time looking at it, and so maybe they have a plan for all of that, but yeah, I mean, it just seems crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that would do, from a realtor's vantage point. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. I think from a realtor, it's like California Dream Program where I mean, that's not so different from the concept. I would say, and again, I don't think there was enough information released. Yeah. Because with the Dream Program, that is paid back.
The down payment assistance.
Exactly. There is down payment assistance there, but it is paid back. But that was something that we were super excited about because, it is bringing buyers into the market. It is enabling first-time home buyers to do something that they wouldn't normally be able to do. So I do think that there is something that could be done that could help for affordability for home buyers. But maybe that is not it.
Yeah.
But, I mean.
And maybe that's the intention, right?
Yeah,
Maybe that is, maybe we didn't, read enough, or maybe she just hasn't said enough. But maybe they intend to go and create some sort of a bond and then have that money get paid back. Once the home
and I
sells,
think that's a completely different conversation and a different. Again, it is hard with headlines, right?
Yeah.
And we try and read as much as we can, but I mean, even before this, I was digging to actually read the full proposal. It's not as prevalent.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a master plan. But what I will say is, there is a problem with affordability. And, they're across the country, I would say, especially in California. So, there probably should be something that, that changes a little bit, or, a little bit of help there. But, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another question, though, right? Like, we're primarily between Innovate and Buy House focused in Southern California. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the lending arm, Center Street, we start to get a little broader throughout the U.S. and 37 states. But where do you put those houses in California?
Yeah.
So if part of the affordability or inventory problem is here, where a lot of the jobs exist, I mean, Bakersfield, the Inland Empire. I mean, those are good markets, but are they going to be commuting for those jobs? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that I think 3 million houses seems a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
A little bit of a reach. And you're right. I mean, if the problem is here, because I will say there are certain pockets that already do have a little more inventory. So I don't know if it's, but even here in California, there are,
that's true.
So it's, we've seen quite a change and shift in Florida. But overall, I mean, there are places that you can buy in California, but, I don't, as far as affordability goes, interest rates have been ticking down a bit.
Yep.
But maybe there needs to be some creative programs out there. I mean, the buy down programs were great for to get the interest rates down, but
I mean, the data points to me,
it's not going away, that problem. So
I don't think so. Not, or at least not anytime soon. The markets that we operated in the most, San Diego still is hovering around 30 days of inventory.
Yeah.
The opposite end of the spectrum, South Florida is like almost a year of inventory.
Yeah.
Now. So, but I mean, again, South Florida, like, were you building in South Florida? In the bayou?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. But it just seems crazy. I couldn't believe she said those things. She also said this week that she was going to tax unrealized gains at 25%, which I don't know how you would do that. And that's like the whole point of investing is not paying your tax. So I think, and again, I might be overreaching on what I understand, but an unrealized gain would be if you purchase, $100,000 worth of Apple shares, and then they double to 200 in this fiscal year. Whether you've sold them or not, you're going to have to pay 25% of that gain, which is not a good thing.
To make,
I don't think.
Sense.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if we want, I mean, this episode so far seems like we're probably poo-poo Camp Harris.
Which is funny because I would say neither of us necessarily are. You
No.
know, I don't think that is the case. I'm sure, people listening are very surprised. But I think it's important that we talk through, both any comments that really affect our industry or any proposals or any ideas. I think it's important for us to just be real about, no matter where it comes from.
Yeah, I hate both people. For clarity, right now, I'm incredibly uninspired by the two people that are trying to become the leader of the free world.
Yeah.
I look at myself in the mirror every morning and I'm like, is this the best we have? It's like pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
But if I feel like we should at least level set the playing field a little bit. Like, while she's out saying those things, Trump is on this crazy podcast train right now. He's going on everyone's podcast.
Yes.
We might get him on ours.
Back-to-back interviews where I heard last night one of his interviews that he said he has never had a glass of alcohol.
Yeah, he's so.
Do we think that this is a True statement?
Theo Vaughn's podcast, is that who you're talking
Yes.
about? Yeah, there was a full conversation about how Theo Vaughn used to do a bunch of cocaine. And Trump said like, oh, so you're off of the cocaine, so then you just revert back to alcohol? And Theo was like, oh, yeah, but then once I have a glass or a drink, then I want to have, more cocaine. And Trump was trying to ask questions like, oh, is that like a real big upper? Like, you could tell he'd never been in that environment before. Yeah. I think he's factual.
You think that's factual? But like to say I have never had a glass of alcohol, which is a weird way to say it. I've never had a glass of alcohol, but like you've never even, I mean.
Yeah, it reminded me.
I didn't know if I could believe that.
It reminded me of a story in high school. I grew up in Utah. I have an older sister. And at this phase of her life in high school, she had some questionable friends. My mom was like, I don't know if I want you hanging out with that group tonight. And she's like, Mom, it's not like I'm out there snorting weed. And she was all serious about it. My mom's like, all right, have a good night.
Like, that's it.
Yeah, everything's fine. Go enjoy your time tonight with your friends. Like, you're innocent enough.
You're in the clear. You are clearly doing nothing.
Yeah, but to me, it sounded the same when I listened to Trump. He's like, I haven't had one glass of alcohol ever in my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all of it?
Oh, I mean, on that? Or
No, not Trump and booze.
Okay.
Maybe you send him a bottle of wine.
I did have a lot of thoughts on that, clearly.
Maybe we take it away from her and just the statements, like 3 million houses, 25K to make a down payment.
I'm a believer that a lot of things that people are saying are to generate headlines and interest and, gain traction. I don't necessarily understand, I think in theory to the average person, they might be like, wow, 3 million houses? That's amazing. Great. Yeah.
Our inventory problem's gone.
25 grand for down payment assistance, that's awesome. So I think that is probably what the intention was. Sounds exciting, but I think if we're going to unpack it a little bit, it might not necessarily be as glamorous as it sounds. And I think, we can do that often with all of the things that are said by both candidates.
So if you're running for president, what's your statement right now to get people to vote for you?
Oh, geez. I mean, if I'm running?
Yeah.
I'm better than both of them. I don't know. I mean,
actually would probably be really good.
Yeah.
It'd probably work.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would vote for you. Where are you running? Yeah, I mean, actually, somebody should just say that. Like, it's probably not going to happen, but yeah.
Yeah. I think that wraps it.
All right. Episode number 15, Realty Talk podcast. We intend to talk all things real estate, a lot of single family. Yeah. This week we got stuck in a little bit of a political rabbit hole, but we think it's important. We think it impacts our buyers and sellers and investors. So we're excited for next week's episode. Check back.
See ya.